One of the biggest mistakes that I'm noticing about people who are in business is they don't have a marketing or advertising strategy. How can you get in business and want people to buy your product and service if you don't have a strategy to get it in front of them? You got to understand that awareness is one of the things that every single business needs. We all need awareness because that is how people find out about our products and services. But a lot of the times people say, well, I don't have the money, or but it ain't even really about that. You know what it's really about? It's really about a lack of creativity. It's really about a lack of resourcefulness. You're thinking, I don't have these certain things, but you don't even know all the moves on the chessboard. That's like saying, well, I can't make a move. If you ever play chess, right? There's certain moves that you just can't do because there's certain pieces that it can't move on the chessboard. So if you play chess, think about a chessboard, right? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna compete with them, and I'm gonna go directly at Taraji P. Henson, and I'm gonna go directly at Terrence Howard. And what he was saying is he's basically going to talk about power, and he's going to talk about them so much so that they're literally going to have to answer questions and talk about power in every single interview that they do. And he said, because they got a big marketing and advertising campaign. He said, so look, and I forgot how much it was. I don't know if it was 10 million, 20 million, 100 million. It was something. It was definitely in the millions in terms of like their marketing campaign. And I forget the exact dollar amount, but either way, he said, we want to attach ourselves to their marketing campaign. So 50 Cent did an interview. Rotimi said it was on a Monday. He said 50 Cent did an interview basically where he was stirring up the pot, essentially starting the beef. And then by Wednesday, all of the blogs and everybody was talking about power versus Empire, right? The two shows. And lo and behold, what happened? Now everybody's talking about who's better, what's better. And then that drew a lot of attention. That drew a lot of conversation. Every interview that they had to go on, they had to talk about, yo, did you hear what 50 Cent said? Did you? Right? Every guest. So imagine if they're on a promo tour. And imagine Taraji P. Henson, Terrence Howard, some of the cast from Power. Imagine all of them being interviewed. Let's just say, collectively, let's just say they went on 20 to 30 interviews collectively, right? Talking about and promoting the show. Well, imagine if you're getting interviewed by 30 different guests in every single show that you've paid money to go to, that potentially some platforms you might have paid to even be on the platform or to talk about it. That you paid for your team to fly out, that you paid for marketing, promote, all of that, right? Everything that you've done to set up and get access to these interviews to promote your own thing. Imagine that now you're always getting asked questions about did you hear what 50 Cent said in the alleged beef or the alleged competition between both shows. And guess what? It worked. He said by Wednesday, everybody was talking about it. Everybody was comparing it and talking about it. And then guess what? That brought, let's just say Empire was up here just in terms of popularity and notoriety. Now, because everybody's talking about it, when you start to compare, and this is why I always say, understand the psychology of people. This is why I say that right here. The exact reason why I say that. Because if you understand this concept, then you understand, maybe you don't do it in the exact same way, but you understand how to leverage attention to be able to grow and build your business, right? And the competitiveness is more like what, me versus you, or you see a lot of people who will do that. Like Diddy did that with, I think it was DeLeon, where he did, it was either DeLeon or Ciroc. I think it was DeLeon, where he did DeLeon versus Hennessy, right? And he did like the shot test. That's like competitive. It's not necessarily beef, but it's competition. Right, 50 Cent likes to do it more towards beef, probably because it draws more of attention. As soon as everybody hear the word beef, everybody's interested and they want to know what's happening and what's going on, and that just draws more attention to the situation. However, you can also look at it from a collaborative standpoint, where you can say, okay, you'll see people do this who you can collaborate on stages. So let's say if you're doing a joint speaking engagement, I'm gonna give you a good example of this. Somebody did, who was it? So actually it's 50 Cent again. So 50 Cent is doing a tour, right? So I forgot the name of it, but basically he's doing like, I don't know if he said it was his last tour, but he said it's going to be his last tour for a long time. How can you do that? Is it Could you invite somebody as a speaker to your event? That's a collaboration. And then now when they're invited to the event, more people are going to be interested in it, or you can leverage that person's platform or that company's platform and they can share it out and you can get the name out, right? We already talked about social media platforms where you could do paid advertising. So that could be considered a collaboration. You can have certain, you could collaborate with affiliates and you can get people that'll go out and that they'll share your product and services. So that's another way that you can get your name out and get visibility and do marketing. There's marketplaces that you can actually put your product and service on. So think about something similar to like a Fiverr or like a Upwork or a what is it? There's a lot of other platforms too, like especially like with digital courses and some of us, I know you're going to think of some names, but there's courses, there's platforms out there where you can create courses on and you can leave it on the marketplace and then people can find it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways where you can collaborate with people and you can do things together. You know what I mean? Live events, et cetera, webinars. And then guess what? So let's say if I'm doing an online webinar with somebody and we're both promoting it, guess what? We're both part of the marketing campaign and we're both going to get, we're both going to get seen. We're both going to get the attention. So think about it like that. You can do the collaboration, which is, that's probably the route for most people. But some people, if you have more of a competitive spirit, or if you're not nervous about having beefs with somebody, if it's a friendly beef or a friendly competition, then you could go to comparison route too, and then you could basically say me versus this. So it's more like a versus type of situation. So if you're not afraid to do the versus, do the versus. But what I took away from it is I took away that he's thinking about how can I be resourceful. That's the main thing. I'm always looking at anytime I'm following somebody who's successful and they making certain moves. I'm not just looking at the moves. And this is one of the things that I always try to get across in my content, even as you're watching me, is I'll give you a lot of techniques. I'll give you tactics. I'll give you strategies. I give you practical activities that you can do to be able to level up your business. But what I'm also teaching you, and I'm also hoping that you're learning from me as you watch my trainings, and what he's doing is basically when these experts, you see a lot of podcasts that interview, gurus and interview people that are getting results in some area in their business, right? And so a lot of them, they talk about finances or they talking about how to make money and different things of that nature. So, but there is, so you got things like Earn Your Leisure, you got podcasts like Social Proof, you got, podcasts like that where they teach a lot of finance and business advice. Well, there's another podcast out there that basically they do reaction videos, and they do reaction videos to quote unquote bad advice or bad financial or business advice, right? And what they do, and basically it's like a little bit of a competition, you know what I'm saying? Because the people that he's critiquing, these are not small platforms, and so they're responding and then they're responding and it's back and forth. But what's happening is the smaller platform that's actually doing these reviews, what they're doing, or these critiques on other people's content, because essentially they're taking clips and they're critiquing content. Like, hold on, what my man said right there was illegal, or hold on, that ain't even good about. Hold on, that, you know what I'm saying? And he's basically doing that type of thing, right? And what that's doing is that's causing them to talk about it, and they doing whole episodes, and the platforms he's talking about is basically having to address. So, but that's the way that I like to be able to leverage it and use it, in addition to some of these other strategies. But I'm more about, I heard Alex Hormozy say this one time, and he said the goal of business is to stay in business. And I'm like, ooh, that is so good. I love that. The goal of business is to stay in business. A lot of times we just get confused and we go in so many different directions where, we're basically, running around like with no head, right? Trying to just figure everything out, and you're running around like with your hair on fire, and you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that, you're trying to do this, and then you find yourself having to start and stop. 1 minute you're doing it, 1 minute you're happy, 1 minute you're in a good mood and you have a good attitude about it. The next minute something happens in your life, you're mad, you're angry, you're bitter, you don't have the money, you don't have the resources, you can't do it, and then you have to stop. You stop for a few weeks, you stop for a few months, and then now you get a good run, you get some money in your pocket, you know, you get some time. Okay, now you're happy, you're excited, great, this is great, I'm doing this, I'm telling people about it, I'm working on my business, I'm excited, I get a mentor, I get a coach, great, I'm doing it, and then something bad happens, and then something negative. Just like life happens all the time, deaths in the family, pregnancies happen, evictions, divorces, I mean, you name it, something always is going to happen in your life. And most people run their business up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and they never gain enough momentum to see success because they keep starting and stopping. So the goal of business is to stay in business. Focus on staying in business, to stick with it. Why is that? I had a conversation with somebody the other day. He was like, you know, I don't know if this is the right time for me and this and that. And he was like, you know, I got a lot going on. And I said, and I think I said this in another video too. I said, what are you really telling yourself? He said, what do you mean? I said, if you let a lack of time stop you from moving this business forward, what are you really saying? I said, what you're really saying is that anytime you get busy, you got to stop, because you can't even start when you're busy. So how are you going to be able to, how you think you're just going to be able to continue when you're busy? The next time you get busy, you ain't going to be able to do it. And guess what? You're always going to be busy. There's always going to be something happening. There's always going to be something personal that's going to happen. I mean, we all go through personal situations in our life. It's just, we just taking turns, right? It's just not your turn to go through certain situations, right? Or it's something is always going to happen. Let's just say you may not be ready to, you know, let's just say your product or your service might not be ready, depending on what it is. Like a lot of folks, if it's like digital products, I can get you up and running literally like in a couple weeks. But let's just say it was 1 or 2 months. Well, is it a bad thing that 10,000 people that you're tracking 10,000 people who watch your videos and your training? Is it bad? It's not, because you know who's interested now. So now when we do the lead generations part of the campaign, you already got 10,000 people immediately that's going to care about the offer that you're getting ready to give them. So we can talk more about that later, but that is the importance of marketing. And keep learning and keep looking around. All right. And remember, slow motion is better than no motion. That's what.